Alrighty. Hello, everybody. This is episode 56 of Shoot the Breeze, a chill interview and a chill time all around for you and me. I'm your host, HeavyDivider, and alongside me here is, well, a very memey individual. As a matter of fact, they're so memey on hand, they can create their own memes and basically become a quite the fun sensation on hand, be it their community or any community on hand for the most part. My guest for the night here is WhisperVR, but we call him Whisper for short. Welcome on in, Whisper.
Hello, howdy, salutations.
Yeah, salutations to you. And like I said, hope your day's going well and everything is going a-okay for the most part. So, first question I would like to ask you is this, which is going to be a curveball one because you and I know the answer to this. How the hell did we meet?
Okay, well, I remember it actually, because I had just joined on my friend, and I even remember who I joined on. Alright? I have a special ability of having just like a really weird memory where I can just remember really, really specific random things. So I joined on my friend, I believe her name was Carmageddon with a K, and they were just staring at themselves in the mirror, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, so I decided to see who else was in the instance and who else I could bother. So I believe I walked up to you and someone else you knew, and it was on my old avatar where I had a little card that I would show people, and it just said, please pet my head or I will cry.
Yeah, I remember that.
And if you didn't, I would cry.
I remember that on hand for the most part. Like, to also explain, like on my side or so, I went to go visit Gunplug, and Carmageddon was also in the world too. Or so they were working on a model or something at that moment. And I was talking to Gunplug, and I noticed a mute Neko basically coming up to us with like a sock toboggan and everything. And basically, they just pulled a card out saying that on hand. And I think Gunplug just, for some reason, Gunplug gave you a hat pat, and as soon as you did like a little dance from it or so.
Listen, I'm easily entertained and easily happy, so...
No, I got you. And it was from that point, which is funny because that was the first time I ever met you, and the second time I've ever met you in VR is pretty much, well, here and now. So, because there was a gap in between because we never saw each other, except the only time I ever seen you or so, everything else was on Twitter, for the most part. So.
I am an elusive beast.
No, you've been busy here and there or so, but for the most part, I'm glad everything's going well and you're doing well for yourself too, especially, for things to come on, including with one of the questions I was going to ask you too later on once we get there with it. But let me ask about your VRChat Origins. So, what got you started in VRChat, and what kind of culminated to it for the most part?
So that's a pretty easy question to answer, actually. It was a James Ski video, and it was one of his very, very, first ones that he did on VRChat. And I remember being blown away because the last thing I saw for anything VR related was old. It was an old Markiplier video with one of the old Oculuses that didn't even have motion controllers, and you had to play with the controller and look around, and it had bad graphics and this and that. And now I see somebody reaching out and touching people. They're laughing. That Barry B. Benson was doing a dab. It was just mind-blowing, and I was like, this is incredible. Why have I not heard of this before? So, I broke out the keyboard, and I went, and I found out it was VRChat, and I remember my very first model I ever found was an MMD model that I had seen in that video that was in it for maybe 10 frames, but I remember seeing it and falling in love and being like, that is how I want to represent myself. And then I got in, and then I immediately got too scared to talk to people, and my social anxiety ramped up to 40. So the longest time while I played, I just didn't talk. It was much easier to just be a wallflower and just poke in, cause a little bit of mischief, steal a few noses, cause problems without even having to say a word. It was fun, and I fell in love, and I still love the fun stuff I get to do.
I will say on hand too, just starting out for the most part, it's one of those things where especially when you get in like a game like this or so. It's one of those things where you guys start out trying to figure out who you can actually relate to or just kind of like talk to on hand for the most part. Because just much as you were basically, it was kind of like a little bit nerve-wracking and just anxiety-fueled. It was kind of like almost the same thing for a little bit of anybody you would come across that probably had the exact same mindset as you when it comes to location. Well, kind of like finding who you can talk to or just like make friends with on hand. So.
Yeah, because a lot of people call VRChat a game, but I'd liken it more to a social platform. You know, it's a different energy. Like, I can be goofy and chat in a game all day long, but in an environment like this, it's a lot less like a game and more like general conversation, which carries a different kind of weight and emotion with it. So it's just a bit of a weird feeling, because, you know, I don't see this as a game. I see there is games within it, but I see VRChat as more of a social platform.
Yeah, it definitely is a social platform. It's just a matter of, like, you know, just trying to reach out and such, which could usually be an easy thing to do depending on how much of a talkative person you are, or maybe the hardest thing to do depending on if you want to feel out the room and just kind of like get an idea of who you can reach out to. Somebody you can relate to for the most part. So.
But that's the cool thing about it, is if you look long and hard enough, you will find groups of people out there that are right up your alley. Doesn't matter what you do. Do you know how many robots I've met since I became one? So many, and I think that's cool as hell. There's a whole subgroup for everything. Anime, furries, robots, map makers. Dedicated to the most weird, specific niche thing. You can probably find a couple other people who are willing to sit down, chat, and shoot the breeze about it, and I think that's cool as hell.
Yeah, a little bit of everything here and there. Especially, you know, if you're looking for diversity or so, you can find nowhere else than just pretty much here. Whatever you're trying to associate with or so, you'll definitely find it here for the most part. Let me ask about your hobbies on hand besides this game. Now, I tried to do a little research on hand for the most part, and I noticed on hand that you played Elder Scrolls Morrowind for the most part. I also know that at certain times you do play like Hunt's Showdown here and there, but besides like video gaming in general, do you have any other hobbies outside of video gaming that you do?
Depends. You know, a lot of my time is eaten up by what I do. You know, the videos I make, the streams I do, a lot of my time is eaten up by that, whether it's actually physically working on something, you know, hanging out and chatting with people like we're doing right now, or chatting with friends, you know. I spent this morning, I opened it up with a nice exercise, a good old hour-long walk in the morning, get the servos and the engine running, and then sat down and worked on stuff, we'll chat with friends, and that's how most of my days go. It's either working on something or going off playing games with friends. I used to be an avid reader, but not so much anymore.
I get you. Plus, it's one of those things, too, when it comes down to it. Like, you gotta have, like, a scheduled mindset for what you need to do here and there. Like, you know, when you mention, like, an hour-long jogging and everything, just so you can be able to put it in here and there on hand. Sometimes, you know, with hobbies on hand, like, say, I don't know, watching anime or so, sometimes you gotta have free time for it here and there to be able to do that. For what can be whatever free time you have on hand, because I know you probably keep yourself busy with a lot of things on hand here, or sometimes what you do keeps yourself busy, especially for what you enjoy, you know.
Yeah.
So let me ask. Okay, so let me ask you this question: when it comes to like when I mentioned about video gaming, what is the game that kind of introduced you into like video game, basically, like the first video game you ever played for the most part, or what kind of like speak that interest?
That's a good question, but if I had to put some thought into it, it would probably be Halo Combat Evolved.
Halo.
For the original Xbox. That is the first game that I can remember really getting into and playing over and over and over and over and over and over, and I always thought, this is incredible. This is mind-boggling. This is beautiful. Like, it's cool. Like, I've always seen video games as an opportunity to be, you know, an art form. And that was the first one that showed me, like, it can be an enjoyable, cool experience, and guess what? You can play it with friends too. It's multiplayer. And from there, I've always been a gamer since then.
No, I feel you on hand. Because it only takes one game to enjoy on hand to where it just opens the floodgates of like, okay, what other games are out there that you can like go past the scope of what you've played on hand. And I don't know what kind of games you enjoy for the most part, like any specific kind of types, or just kind of like a variety of whatever piques your interest.
I tend to play shooters. I like to play shooter games, but I also like games that have a little bit of risk added to it, which is why I really like games like Hunt Showdown, Tarkov, or even to an extent with that Sea of Thieves, because there's the risk versus reward. It forces you to think, oh no, if I lose everything, da-da-da-da-da, so it evokes more emotion. That emotion's usually anxiety and panic, but it's there. So I tend to play more shooters like that. But, you know, RPG games always hold a soft spot in my heart. And it's unfortunate that not a lot of them have come out lately.
Yeah. I think, like, the recent one... Well, the only recent one I can think of off the top of my head that probably ever came out, like, RPG-wise, which, now that I think about it, might be just Japanese RPG, was, like... Dragon... It was Dragon Quest 11 or so. But past that, yeah, there's not, like, a lot of RPGs to come out for the most part. It only depends on what you can find on hand. Nothing brand new, but sometimes you could just look into the past of things that you never got a chance to play that you can easily find on hand. So.
Yeah, me and a friend were actually having this discussion the other night, and I went to tell him, you know, the last one I really remember coming out was Skyrim. And then I went, holy shit, Skyrim came out 10 years ago. You know, it's, you know, 11.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been pretty barren, you know, you've got, Dragon Age, Inquisition, that kind of stuff, but it's just, for whatever reason, they decided, oh, people don't want to play those kinds of games anymore, and it's breaking my heart. I want to play that.
I mean, it's funny, too, because, like, when you look at Skyrim on hand or so, yeah, there may be some bugs and some glitches here, but when you look at the whole thing, it doesn't look like it's aged at all, for the most part. Like, in some senses on hand.
It definitely could have aged a lot less gracefully. It definitely could have aged a lot less. But there's still some parts that poke its head out, because then again, it is a 10-year-old video game. You have to expect it to show its age here and there, but, you know, I think Microsoft ended up buying Bethesda, so Microsoft, please just give me another Elder Scrolls game, please.
I mean, I think they were working on one. I mean, I know there's one in the works that was like Elder Scrolls 6. They had like a trailer for it that was like, I don't even know when that was, but it was like maybe a few years ago, like 2019 or so. But it was like something in it was not back at the Summer Isles, but basically there's a name for it. It starts with an E on hand. I'm trying to think back to my lore on it because I played both Oblivion and Skyrim, so it's kind of like trying to piece it together on hand. But yeah, it's going to be going to one of the continents on hand that we've never been to before. So only learned it through lore, but yeah, it was like the Elven Empire. So it started with an E or so. I'm trying to think, but I can't think of the name of it. It'll come to me on hand when I least expect it. Oh yeah. Oh, actually, someone mentioned it on hand. Elden Ring's coming out. I don't know if you classify it as an RPG, but
I don't really classify the Souls games as an RPG. I enjoy the Souls games, though, immensely. I love them. But I've never really considered an RPG because the story's kind of set out already for you, and sure, there's usually 2 to 3 different endings, but at the end of the day, I don't put myself in my character's shoes like I would when you step off the boat in Morrowind, and you get to choose your own adventure, essentially. I've never felt that with Dark Souls.
No, that's fair.
But I also really, really enjoy Dark Souls.
No, that's fair. That's definitely fair on hand. It's because, you know, depends on what game it is or so, and how you can feel on it. That's all that counts, for the most part. So, let me talk about the VTuber scene with you. Now, let me ask you this. What got you into VTubing in general? Or kind of like, what kind of inspired you to basically do VTubing for the most part on hand?
Well, I was already streaming VRChat, so I mean, it's not exactly a long hop, skip, and a jump to get over to VTubing. Before a lot of VRChat people were starting to make the transition and adopt more of, oh yeah, I can stream other games other than VRChat. I was already looking into ways to try to have that sort of desktop capture of my character. I remember Kimple was a huge inspiration when it came to that, because they were one of the first people that I saw actually doing that from the VRChat community. And so yeah, that's about it. There isn't too much of a stretch of imagination to say I want me, instead of doing this in VR, be able to play this desktop game or this other VR game, and et cetera, et cetera. So wasn't much of a bridge. I was already doing it. Just a lot of people look at VRChat and go, you can't be a VTuber and play VRChat, which I think is a little bit of a silly opinion, because it's, if you're portraying yourself digitally as a character, that's not what being a VTuber is.
Yeah, pretty much on hand.
That's just my point of view.
I mean, too, and also, it's also, no matter what kind of VTuber you are, so you can have, like, a personality to it of your own, or basically, say, have, like, a creative personality, depending on what you want to work with, or so. Like, the imagination has all many possibilities on what you want to work with. So, it all depends on it with it. And, now that I think about it on hand, since you mentioned Kimball, were they probably the first person to basically have, like this robotic trend in VRC? Because I didn't know anything about them until, like, 2018. Especially with, like, robotic voice, just setting, and everything.
As far as I know, Kimball is definitely one of the earlier, I'd say, for lack of better terms, like a robotic character personality that I saw, especially in the VRChat sphere. But I've always kept to my own little bubble when it comes to playing. Yeah, when I played casually back in, like, can't remember if it was late 2017, early 2018, I first started playing. So I never really got into a lot of these spheres until I started streaming, and I'd follow other people in the community who I'd see their friends and their friends' friends, and et cetera, and yeah, so I don't really know if they were the first, but they're definitely one of the first ones that I personally noticed.
Yeah, same thing for me. It's like, they're the first ones I personally noticed on hand, with that, and also the hydration bot, too. So, but, let me also ask you about streaming in general. Now, for streaming, when it comes down to it on hand, for the most part, as a streamer in general, I'm pretty sure you've ran into a few problems on hand when it comes to, like, you know, trying to feel things out for what you want to do, correct? Of
course, I think everybody does, even outside of streaming. That's just a part of life.
It's definitely a part of life on hand. And I was going to ask, for what you do streaming-wise, so, like, give us, like, the layout on hand. Say, like, is it just pretty much whatever you want to play, or whatever you feel for the day on hand, or is it just kind of like a long-term planning of what kind of events you want to do, to what kind of games you have in the future you want to try out, or so?
I think it's a little of both. Some things I plan out long-term, some things I plan out the day before or the day of. I view streaming as something fun that I enjoy, and that it makes me happy that other people enjoy too. So I don't treat it like a super serious job. I don't, like, categorize stuff. This is my timetable for Monday, this is my timetable for Tuesday, this is my time da-da-da-da for, like, a month out. I'll be like, you know, this game comes out then, and I look forward to that game, so I'll probably stream that around its release. Oh, I really like the idea of the campaign for this game, but I want to wait till I get this model done in order to play it, to do a cute little back and forth with an outfit. And then sometimes I'll wake up and I'll message one of my friends and I'll be like, listen, there's this new update for this game we both play and I'd love to stream it. Are you in? So I'd say it's a little of both, but most of it's rather spontaneous.
No, I feel you. And I look at the reason I ask is because when I look at it, I have like an organizer mind. So usually I like to plan things out as it goes along because I'm always that. You know that you know when you kind of get scared that you might forget something along the way, or basically you set your day out for the most part, and there could be one thing you've forgotten on hand. So you make sure to plan the whole thing out. That way you don't miss a beat. Kind of like keep that constant rhythm of what you do. It's kind of like that's pretty much kind of like my mindset on hand. So I was kind of curious from. I don't know if you organize what you do, but it's mostly just feel it out on hand, correct?
Nope.
Yeah. So yeah, it's different because never done that too much. So.
I personally am a very disorganized individual. I've never been organized, not in school, not in my personal endeavors, not in anything. I've always struggled with that. Like if I planned out like an itinerary for this is how I want my day to go, it would not go that way. Whether I wanted it to or not, it would not follow purely because the structure is difficult for me.
I see.
Personally, I like a nice loose structure where I get the basic idea of what I need to do, but I'm free to maybe shuffle this back a little bit, move this over here just a bit, just to make my own rhythm based on how the day changes. Maybe the day got difficult or something, so I push some stuff off. Maybe the day is going great and I'm on top of the world, so I pull some more stuff onto my workload.
No, I got you. I understand. Like I said, it's just kind of interesting because, you know, people's got their different ways of how they do things here and there. So it's always interesting to look at a different perspective on hand, just so you can understand it and get a better idea for what it is. So, now this is kind of like a personal question on hand, but it'll also be kind of based on how you do things for the most part. But when I first met you and everything, you were a mutant echo and everything. And to kind of like timeline this, that you were a mutant echo, then you decided to begin to speak for yourself or on hand, you know, talk with your voice and everything. And then along the way, you were able to reinvent yourself to be something that you're very comfortable with on hand. And what I wanted to ask is, how were you able to do what you need to be able to become who you are now, or so? Because I know it probably took a lot of soul searching on hand, or to be able to feel out of what is you for the most part.
Okay, I get what you're asking. Well, what I ended up doing is, like I said, I don't treat streaming as a job. I treat it solely as something I enjoy. And there came a point where I stopped enjoying it. It was, you know, a struggle to push myself to hit the go live button. I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't having fun. I was purely streaming because it was all I really had to do. It was almost expected of me, so I did it. And I got unhappy. And then, at least especially for the robot persona, I met a few people during the recording for VRC Rewind. I had met two individuals, Zone and Jessica, and I fell in love with the robot aesthetic. It was like, oh my god, I didn't even think that was an option of how to represent yourself. And the more I thought about it, the more I was very comfortable and excited with that kind of idea, where it was a mixture of, this is a way to represent myself, but also play a character. And if I could do both at the same time, then things become a little bit more interesting again. Things become more fun. They ride the line between, you know, expressing myself and having fun in a safe way. And ultimately, I think it was that experience right there that changed a lot for me and makes me happy to just make stuff, to do stuff like this, to make videos and make skits and all this fun stuff, and I'm very thankful for that.
Mm-hmm. Because I know for a fact when people are trying to find themselves, for the most part, everybody's got a different path, no matter what. No matter what path everybody has, it'll always be different. It'll branch out for wherever direction they want to go. And I know it's nice to take in a little bit of wisdom to know exactly what you have to do on hand. Like, even if it's different from everybody else's, it's a bit of an understanding on what you needed to do, you know, especially to find yourself for the most part. You, the human being, and you, the comfortability of what you wanted to do, just to enjoy streaming a little bit more, or content creating a little bit more. So, but I will say on hand, I'm glad you're happy. That's the thing. That's the important thing on hand, which I will share.
Me too.
If you're happy with what you do for the most part, no matter what it is or so, then that's all the things in the world you need. That's the important part. Just to be able to be happy. So this might be a little bit out there and wide on hand, because there could be a lot of moments on hand with this, but do you have any funny or memorable moments that you can think of off the top of your head for the most part, or like anything that would just stick with you? Like when you think of the word funny, it's like, oh, I remember this time on hand. Could be like
related to streaming or not?
It could be streaming, it could be content creating, it could be with like groups of people you hang out with on hand. You know, even if you're not streaming.
Well, I know one thing that I think about quite often that did happen during a stream. I used to elbow drop people. I used to, you know, since I have full body, I can move, I can move. I used to do like a run, jump, and I'd elbow drop like people in small avatars. And one day I went to do that, and, you know, I felt around, I made sure I knew where the mattress was, and everything, but somewhere throughout it, I must have gotten mixed up, and I jumped, and I did a flying elbow drop onto the hardwood floor.
Ooh.
And this is something that is not funny in the moment, but funny retrospectively, because my God, did that hurt. I may as well elbow drop concrete, and I was on the second floor of the house. I heard people running, they're like, are you okay, are you okay? I thought I might have broken my elbow, which I didn't, it was just bruised. But,
jeez.
And I remember, like, as it happened, the adrenaline's running, you're like, and my first thought is, it's okay, I can finish the stream. And then, about 5 minutes later, when the adrenaline wears off and the pain starts kicking in, I'm like, I can't finish this stream, goodbye.
No,
and
damn.
ended everything. But I remember, because since it was on stream, I think there is technically a clip out there of it, because I elbow dropped the ground, and you could see the Vive base stations, like, lose sync for a moment, because you got that, like, the gray VR space that throws you in when they desync a little bit. So you see that happen as I collide with the floor, and then I'm just like, on the ground for a little bit. It was a wild time.
Good lord.
I like to think back at that and laugh. Again, not funny in the moment, but retrospectively, absolutely hilarious.
No.
Other than that, I kind of struggle to point to specific events. I'm not very good at mentally categorizing events. I'm good at, like, remembering how people make me feel. So, like, I have specific friends who I look at them and I go, I'd laugh and have more fun when I'm around you. So, therefore, I like you as a friend. But sometimes I struggle to remember specific things, especially when some of my friends, I hang out with them a couple hours a day, every day, so it's a lot of stuff becomes muddied and pushed together.
A little bit of foggy in between, just to kind of like figure out, you know, what you gotta do here. Well, what you gotta remember here and there. But I mean, I will say, and this is just me being optimistic, at least it wasn't your funny bone or so, especially on that elbow part. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Been a lot worse on here.
Well, I said probably should have broken my arm. I don't know why it didn't. I've never broken a bone, you know, or some wood that I can knock on it. But like, I've never broken a bone yet, and hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah, hopefully it stays that way on hand. And as KO just said, Floric KO out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, I went to elbow drop a miniature Miku, and the floor wasn't having none of that. That floor was a Miku stand.
I mean, hey, at least you didn't channel like the power of Macho Man and basically just like get on a highest point and then dive down. That could have been a lot worse.
Dude, that would have been significantly worse.
So, what is your motivation to keep going when it comes to like content creating, streaming, or basically just being able to do what you enjoy the most on hand? Because I'm aware everybody's got a different motivation on hand for what they do on hand here and there, but it's also based on, you know, kind of like what makes you enjoy what you do the most too. So, but what motivates you?
First and foremost, I like expressing myself. I like expressing myself in a way that I cannot do normally every single day. And like I said earlier, it makes me happy to stream, and it makes me happy to see that other people enjoy what I do, whether it's because of the persona I put on, whether it's because of my attitude, because I'll be the first one to stick my hand up and say, I know I'm a sassy little gremlin when I play games, and I find that fun, and I find it funny as well, and that's why it is world-rocking when other people do as well. So I think that, first and foremost, is just what it is. I like expressing myself, and I like having fun. Another motivation, definitely, and it almost feels narcissistic to say it a little bit, but I like to grow. You know, nothing feels better when you work really hard on something and you love the way it comes out, and other people do too, you know? Whether it is streaming, whether it's art, whether it can go into any facet of anything. It could be something from the micro to your family, your friends. But I just felt like I just disappeared from it.
Yeah, it was a split second.
It could be,
but you're good.
It'd be the smaller parts where it's, just doing something that makes your friends or family smile, or it could be, again, the macro where it could be anyone from anywhere in the world, and that's just very exciting to me, and that is definitely a huge driving factor of why I keep doing what I'm doing and why I enjoy it.
No, I feel you. And it's also, too, like, when you enjoy what you make and everything, and when it begins to grow or so, like, everybody's got a different growth, I'm going to call it growth spurt. Everybody's got a different growth spurt. Sometimes it takes time for it to basically grow to the tallest tree. Sometimes it takes it a quicker time to do it on hand. It's just a matter of nurturing for the most part. Just nurturing it and basically continue to do what you want and craft what you want on hand or so. And
it's exactly true, because, this is a little bit of a tangent, but,
fine.
Everyone who makes content, anybody who makes stuff, there will be times where you see somebody grow faster than you do. And sometimes with those, there can come the feeling of jealousy. And I actually talked about this a while ago, because I don't think enough people talk about it. You're gonna get jealous, not just with content creation, but every day, whether it's your coworker got something, your friend got something, maybe it could be your brother got a gift for his birthday, and you're like, damn, why didn't anyone get me that? You're gonna get jealous, but how you treat that emotion is very important to some people. They channel it, and they get self-destructive, they get angry, and they take it out on others. But other people use it as, a motivator, where they stand up and they say, you know what they're doing, I like and I respect it, and I want to make something that gets this kind of attention too, because I know I am worth it too.
Yeah.
And going back a little bit, I think that is also a big motivator for myself. Because I see some people, they'll just come out of nowhere and they'll explode in popularity, and part of me will get a little bit jealous, and I go, I can make that kind of content too. I can make this kind of video, I can make a name for myself that I'm proud of, that makes me feel like me. And yeah, I know that was a little bit of a tangent, and also a little bit of a roundabout wrap around to go back to the earlier topic, but it's just something I don't think enough people talk about at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. Not a lot of people talk about him because, understand, when you see somebody that gets big or so on hand and basically you're doing what you're doing and that happens on hand, yeah, people do get a little bit jealous on hand. But it's also, but once that happens, you have two choices. Do you let it eat you up, or basically do you let it motivate you to say, I can do better than that? Or basically just kind of like do something that you want to do at the same time. Because understand, there are people out there who are able to take negativity of what it is or so and turn around as the positivity for themselves to motivate them to keep going for what they gotta do. Like, to feel that motivation to do things they want to do for the most. And it's one of those things, too, because you have no idea if that person is able to do that or not until basically something happens to them, and they're like, okay, I can bounce back from that. And basically, they just pull things out of nowhere where you least expect it. Because all it takes is just that point to be like, I can do this or so, and just basically burst right through it. So, and you can easily tell it. Yeah, and you can easily tell by how hard the person's working or so. Because I know, and I know there's been people out there who work the hardest on hand or so for what they do or so. And they're still continuing to grow, and they're still continuing to hone their craft and basically go beyond the point of what people did. There are people out there who don't expect them to do this and this, but then they burst through that barrier of what that entire mindset was and just, like, go beyond what anybody else would ever expect. You know?
That's the beauty of the internet. The only thing holding you back at the end of the day is how you choose to do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the internet is an age of unequivocal knowledge. If you want to know something, it is available to you. And for just about free, even if, you don't have internet at your home. I know my town's public library, they have computers that are free to use to the public. If you want to learn something, whether it's an instrument, whether it's how to do this kind of edit for a video, whether it's this, that, this is the best time to be alive to learn how to be the best you want to be and make a name for yourself. Everyone's got that equal chance. It's no longer just celebrities and rich people. If you want to make a name for yourself, you can find a community of like-minded people, and you can make your own as well, and that's fucking cool.
Yeah, it is. It really is. To do what you need to. And just be able to kind of like, you have the opportunity to do it on hand. It's just go out there and get it, Do what you gotta do. So, but, I got a little bit of different topics on hand here, but let me ask about the VTuber current present right now. Now, in this current present right now, of VTubing in general, what do you think of it so far on hand? Like, with where we are right now compared to, like, when it was rising up and everything to, where we are at the moment or so.
So, I was actually kind of thinking about this last night, believe it or not, because it kind of hit me. It was like, holy shit, VTubers are something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Like, you want somebody you can watch that can fill any kind of specific niche.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost out there already, and we're at the beginning. Like, I'm a robot. I've seen slime girls. I've seen elves. I've seen dragons. I've seen a lamp. There's just a lamp with anime eyes. Like, it's cool. You get to find something that is tailored to your taste.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like I said, something straight off a sci-fi movie. Like, I think it's just only going to continue to get more and more advanced to the point where the majority of, bigger name VTubers are probably going to be kind of set up how, like, Project Melody or Code Ego do their stuff, where with it's a very expressive sort of, I don't want to say uncanny valley because that paints it in a negative light, but a lot more, it's going to blur the line between the fantasy and the reality aspects of it. And personally, I think that's cool. Personally, I think the more ways you can express yourself, the better life is for everyone. So I personally think it's headed in a really cool trajectory, and that honestly, we're at the ground level. Things are in their infancy. I know, like, the age of the internet, everything's moving at Mach 10. Like, it's crazy to think that only 10 years ago, I was watching YouTube poop, you know, and then now I'm a robot on the internet. Like, it's crazy how fast things are accelerating and changing.
Yeah, and
That's cool.
it is. And the funny thing, too, is everybody's got, no matter what, or so, VTubers got, like, a different personality, and sometimes they have, like, a different kind of character. The funny thing is, we haven't, no matter what you expect on hand, there are people out there who are able to think outside the box and create something that you didn't think would happen on hand, or basically have, like, a character of their own, for the most part, that you didn't think was going to be. Like, for example, there was a person, I can't think of their name, but basically, their entire VTuber is a gorilla. And basically, how they designed everything, it looked like a realistic gorilla, VTuber-wise and everything. And I can't think of their name on hand, but it's one of those things where it was like, it takes, like, either realistic stuff, or basically they think outside the box to, like, say, like, 2D, or, like, Pixel or so, like, almost Minecraft-like, too, because I know there's actually Minecraft. It's funny that there's people who made Minecraft models for, like, VTubing on general, which I found was, okay, that's going to open the door for, like, to blocks and everything, too. So, it's just like...
Well, it's like I said, there is someone out there who will fit the specific niche you're looking for. And if by some crazy coincidence there isn't, then you can fill that niche if you wanted to, because that's just the day and age we live in. We have unlimited knowledge and power and all this cool stuff that we can just do. And I think some people either don't have enough self-confidence in themselves to try to step into that, or they just don't think to. It just doesn't cross their minds that I could do that too.
Yeah. And yeah, and it's just trying to find what works for you too, for the most part, you know, what fits your bill for what you want to do on hand. And I will say, is there anything you're looking forward towards with anything in the future, like with VTubing, or basically like the new? Because I guarantee you, that what we have right now, be it VC Face, Suva, like just be able to full body work our way through stuff here and there. I guarantee it's going to evolve over time to basically, it'll either become much easier, but also very expensive, depending on what it is. But it all depends on exactly what's going to happen in the future. But anything you're looking forward towards, or so?
Well, I can definitely say that those more like motion suits, like I said, that people like Code Miko or Project Melody use, I would love to see those be more readily available for a little bit less of a price tag.
Yeah.
Because I know, as much as I love VR, it is prone to its hiccups. You know, whether a tracker gets occluded while you're moving, this and that. So to have those kinds of just really, really accurate ways for people to be able to express body language, because I'm very expressive. I'll be talking to my friends on Discord, and I'm trying to point at things on my screen. I'm talking with my hands, and no one can see me.
Yeah.
So, like, it just being able to have, again, that line be blurred, I am looking forward to that. And in extension to a little bit more of a personal side of things, of what I'm looking forward to, I got a new model on the way, and I'm really excited for that.
I remember, yeah, you're going to do your re-debut and everything on hand. That's going to be coming up soon. So before we go into the next thing on hand, do you have a set date for when your re-debut is coming up, or is it going to be based on when the model's done?
It's all based on when the model is done. The model is almost modeled.
Okay.
But then comes the rigging and the texturing and all that fancy stuff that I don't understand. So I'm going to wait till it's pretty much done before I put a date on it, because I wouldn't want to put stress on the modeler.
Yeah, that's fair.
I wouldn't want to make a date and hype it all up and then be like, oh wait, sorry, no, it ain't going to be ready, see y'all next week. It's just sometimes better to be patient.
No, that's fair. Very fair on hand. And I will say on hand, just to make sure, whenever their new model comes out, make sure to check them out, guys, if you can. Because I'm pretty sure everybody will be eager to see on hand, how the brand new Whisper is going to look on hand for it. So.
Well, it's not like I'm not going to be, my pink self anymore. Sometimes people treat re-debuts as like a new beginning, which is how I treated me getting my robot model.
Yeah.
But this, I like to think, is just fun. I just see it as fun. I could be, like, I can say what it is because I've never really kept it a secret, but I'm getting a Gundam version of myself. I'm getting a giant version of me with guns and jet boosters and all this fun stuff because I thought it would be fun. And I like the idea of doing, like, a just chatting stream, but I'm sitting on the roof of a skyscraper. Like, to me, that's just an entertaining mental image of what a VTuber can do, which, goes back to VTubers are vast and can be and do whatever they want. And I like taking part in that.
I just had a funny idea, and this is just me, but whenever you do get your Gundam version of yourself, it'd be great if, like, the cockpit to it opens up, and then there's your and then there's the model that you have right now, just sitting in there just waving. I don't know why, I just thought that would be amusing. It's like a robot inside of a giant, mech suit or so.
Yeah, it's like the Russian dolls, where you take one out and there's a slightly smaller one, and you open that one, and there's a slightly smaller one, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, etc., etc., etc. I would be surprised when that happens on hand to see. And so here's a curveball question I'm going to throw your way, because everybody's got a different answer to this on hand, but it all depends on how you feel with it on hand. But let's talk about anime. Let's talk about anime on hand. So there's a 3-part question to this, but I'll break it down a little bit here. So first things first, when I say the word anime, what comes to your mind? Like, first series that comes to your mind when I say the word anime?
Well, the first series that comes to mind is my favorite series because, if you tell me think anime, that's a very broad term for me. So my brain tries to categorize it into what animes do you know? And then naturally my favorite bubbles to the surface. But in a broad term, anime to me just means Eastern-inspired animation.
I see.
And from there, you can break it down into every kind of subgenre, this and that and this and that. But at the end of the day, how I categorize it is either Eastern animation or Eastern-inspired.
Nice. Because, like I said, it all comes down to basically, what you enjoy for the most part and relate to on hand. Like, I'm thinking about it on hand as I'm looking at, like, first name that comes to mind. So it's like a lot of soul searching on hand with it, depending on what you enjoy. So my second question to that is, if you ever had a top 3 or top 5 like anime series or so, which it doesn't have to be in any order on hand, it could just be like first 5 or first 3 on hand. But what would be the anime series that would fit that bill of what you enjoy, like be top 3 or top 5 for your choice?
I can give this one as my top one because it's my favorite anime series. I've probably watched it through and through probably about 10 times. Ergo Proxy.
That's a classic.
Surprisingly, not a lot of people have heard about it, but I'm a sucker for things that take themselves too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of moments in this show where it is so pretentious that it's almost preaching. And I gobble that up. I love it. Because, like I said, just like how I feel like video games can be an art form, I think the television and media that can be created, anything can be an art form. And I like when they try something new. And in Ergo Proxy, they tried a whole of things. There's, you know, allusions to history and this and that. A whole bunch of metaphors with the visuals and the story, and I ate that up, and so I loved Ergo Proxy. If I had to throw something else up there, I really enjoyed Nichijou.
Oh,
I don't know if you've ever seen that one, but
Ichigo?
that is... No, Nichijou.
Oh, that one. No, I
It's
haven't seen that, to be honest with you. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it, to be honest.
It's chaotic. Everything in it is chaos. It's a comedy anime, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. And I enjoy that because it's on the opposite end of the spectrum. And I like how, like I said, anime is a wide and vast thing. There's different values in different parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
I also really enjoyed Panning and Stocking with Garter Belt. Just because its animation was beautiful. Its comedy. Almost every single time there's very few jokes that didn't land with me. So I really enjoyed that. There's some other series that I enjoy. I'm awful at answering questions like this
take your time. You're all good.
Spot because, like I said, I'm a rather disorganized individual.
That's all good. I will say, when no, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. I was gonna say, just kind of throw in, when I was thinking of, like, for some reason, when you mentioned comedy and everything, the first thing that popped in my mind was Konosuba, for some reason. Immediately.
That's not one that I've seen.
You seen? It's an interesting one, if you ever want to see one. So, just throwing it out there. So.
Another show that I really enjoyed because it is the epitome of 80s overly violent schlock. Mad Bull 34. That one is a little less known. Some parts of it hasn't aged well, especially some of the language they use is definitely of its time period.
Yeah, definitely.
But overall, I found it absolutely hilarious. Like it's an experience, to say the least. It's one of those shows where everything is happening so fast, but also nothing's happening, so it's just left you in this confusing feeling. Like this, 7'5" giant muscular man cross-dresses as a nun to take down a mafia kingpin, and they end up having a shootout in the subway. Like, it's something where it's like somebody's playing Mad Libs.
Yeah.
And whenever they come out in the Mad Libs gets animated. And I loved it. It was an experience.
That definitely sounds like an experience on hand, just based on the scenes that just transpires on hand with it. That's a crazy thing. Very crazy.
Oh, also, the Castlevania on Netflix, that series was very well done. The first 2 seasons, at least. I didn't like season 3, but the first 2 seasons.
I haven't got around to watch that, but I need to. Like, I got like an anime bucket list. Got like an anime bucket list. I keep things on it. Yeah, recommend it on hand. So, my third question to anime, and this might require a little soul searching, or depending on, immediately if it comes to mind, but basically, what is the anime series, or it could be a movie too, that hits you close to home? Like, when you watch it and everything, like, you feel it on an emotional level, like, you relate to it.
There is a couple. I know I would definitely put Spirited Away up there.
That's a classic.
Because a lot of the themes that they get talked about, anything from the obvious to the little bit less obvious, like how she's a child getting ignored by her parents and her opinion seen as less important at times. Sometimes it's the little stuff like that that can hit a little bit close to home.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that I'd say would do that, the original Ghost in the Shell movie.
I've heard of Ghost in the Shell. I've heard of Ghost in the Shell. I haven't seen the movie. So.
A lot of the ideas presented in it are, what does it mean to be human? Because one of the main characters is essentially a human conscious inside a machine body. So a lot of what the movie addresses is how she views herself, whether or not she truly is human or not. And I think a lot of those ideas are very interesting, especially how technology moves forward. So I'd say that one as well.
Yeah, I feel you. Like, I've seen Ghost in the Shell, like the anime series. I never got a chance to see the movie on hand, but it's like one of those. It draws an interesting debate line between human and machine, you know? Like, just trying to have, like, I want to say equality between both parties on hand, with, like, understanding and just knowing exactly. Because keep in mind, a machine will always have a hard time understanding a human just as much as a human will have a hard time understanding a machine. Like, it's a matter of perspective, but it's also a matter of, like, the broad trying to understanding of, you know, working with both sides on hand here, too. Which I gotta sit down and watch more of that when I get a chance to. That's also on the anime bucket list, too, when I get a chance. So, but,
Well, I'm a sucker for introspective narratives, which is why I like that and Ergo Proxy so much.
Yeah. I feel you on him. I will say Ergo Proxy's got like a really good intro theme. Like, I remember actually listening to it a lot.
Oh, of course. Oh my god, that song is fire. My favorite part, though, is if you're skipping through to try to actually get to the episode, because I showed a couple of my friends the series a couple weeks ago, and they loved it, so we sat down a couple nights a week and we sat and watched it start to finish. But if you're skipping through the opening, there's a part where this song the guy starts going, "Save me!"
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
If you just skip,
skip.
it is him going, "Me," just never ends because he says it so much, and that made me laugh a little bit.
You know what's funny? You mentioned how it was like, it takes itself serious on it, and it's kind of funny, too, because you've already watched the whole Ergo Proxy thing, right? So, when it had its serious moments and everything, why did it have an episode about a game show? Like there was a moment on hand where it was like a bit of bit where basically it's like they were part of a game show on hand. It's like, what? I just remember that briefly.
That was them trying to shoehorn universe lore into a single episode. That's one of my least favorite episodes in the series. Because of how shoehorned a lot of it is, and then they try to sweep it under the rug and be like, no, it's a proxy. It's actually this. It was actually a battle. But it felt very haphazard. But I do give them props for trying something, and that's big for me. Is if a show actually tries something new. Why I really love some of the older Cartoon Network shows like Samurai Jack.
That's a good
one
one.
I love aesthetically, but they also tried something outside of the norm, and especially for kids shows. Me and a friend are rewatching Samurai Jack right now. A lot of the episodes are very slow, which is interesting for a action of the week kind of boys cartoon is what it's seen as. But there's a lot of really slow moments. There's an entire episode that's meant to be based on sound. And there's probably only like 5 minutes of dialogue in that 20-something minute episode. So I just love it because they tried something, so they get bonus points.
I think they were trying to experiment to try some different things here and there, too, because keep in mind, the creator of Samurai Jack enjoyed doing what he does, but he also likes to tell stories in different ways on hand. That are like from almost like different lores and different tales on hand, or maybe like different like film styles on hand. Like, I believe, like for example, I know what episode you're talking about. It's like the 5 bounty hunters that basically meet up in a cabin and everything, and basically they're talking about ambushing like Samurai Jack and everything, what they're gonna do and everything. You know, one guy has like he's a matador. He was gonna basically fire some daggers right underneath a cape. One person was going to apparently the plan is. Somehow blade will break against his armor and then smash and everything, like almost Hulk style. And then there's the one individual that it's a she who is a bounty hunter who basically has like some sort of weird hatred against them, and then all of them meet against Samurai Jack, and all of them get taken down one by one, except for the girl I mentioned, and that got spared, and then it was like off in the sunset or so with it. Like, it was an interesting style, but it also made me think of like the almost Wild West like or so, you know, telling stories about a little bit of their side of what they do, where they came from here and there, but also basically not knowing the fact that the gunsmith they're going up against is a lot more, I want to say, more skilled than they are, or they underestimated this one individual. So it's like that or so. So this gets me down to my final question here, and I'm gonna move this camera to you real quick. For the most part, let me get this, and let me see if I could just get this down here. There we go. So the question I have on hand is, what are your goals and dreams? And at best, what is the best advice you can ever give to anybody? I'll let you have center stage for this.
Alright, I'm gonna open it up with the advice first, because I give this advice as much as I can, because every now and then I'll have someone who pops into my chat who's like, hey, I just started streaming, could you give me some advice, you know, what works for you? And at the end of the day, nobody's gonna give you the right answer, because nobody has the right answer. And that's because a lot of it involves you getting lucky. You know, sometimes it's that one clip that you posted that people find really funny and share it with their friends. But what you do control is your chances of getting lucky. You know, if you put out one video, chances are not a lot of people are going to see it. But if you put out 10, maybe one of them catches someone's eye, and they tell their roommate, hey, Jim, come over, watch this, I just found this, and it's pretty neat. And then Jim, the roommate, shares it in his Discord server with a couple of his friends, and they shoot it out. And the best thing you can do is give yourself the opportunity to get lucky. Keep creating. Whether it is a full-length video, maybe you said something you thought was hilarious on your stream, but no one clipped it. Go back and clip it yourself. Go get that. Go keep that. You thought that was funny. That makes it worth it. Share it, whether you put it on Twitter. TikTok is a great place to share just little moments like that, little clips. YouTube, anywhere. But at the end of the day, it's in your hands to give yourself those kinds of opportunities. Like, I remember one time, my first video I ever uploaded that really got any traction, I wasn't gonna upload. Because it was just a goofy little clip of me being me and just being a goofball and spinning around and going, haha, this is what a microwave would sound like. And I remember uploading it that night, Xing out of YouTube, and continuing to chat with my friend while we played some video games. And at one point I opened up YouTube and I went, oh my god, this video has 30,000 views. And it's only been a few hours. Why? What? And I didn't understand it. And it's happened a few times since then, but only because I kept creating. You know, 2 weeks ago I uploaded a YouTube video, and it was the worst video, like, view-wise, that I have had in a long, long time, and it was my video celebrating me hitting a really big milestone. If I look at that and I said, you know, that's, woe is me, that not as many people watch that as I thought they would, I may as well stop creating, what's the point? Then I wouldn't have uploaded the video that I uploaded 2 days ago that is now the best performing video I've uploaded in a couple weeks. Because I didn't give up and I gave myself the more opportunities for something good to happen. So that's my advice. It's just don't get discouraged and just keep creating. Because it's like I said, when it comes to VTubing, you will find a group, you will find a niche. And if there's not, you can create it. People will come to you for one reason or another, but they can't come to you if they can't find you. If you don't put anything out there, how can they find? They can't. So just keep creating. I forgot the other part of the question, though.
What?
I went on a tangent.
No, you're good. What are your goals and dreams?
Oh, that's an easy one. My goals and dreams are to just keep doing what I'm doing. Like I said, I take this as an opportunity to represent myself, to act in a certain way, to treat the world in a certain way. And the past couple of nights, I've done some soul search, and I've just sat there. I've been like, holy crap, I am in a really crazy position. And I need to treat that with a certain amount of respect. And it is a huge goal of mine to just keep doing it. Just whether I grow or not, I want to keep doing what I do. And some of that also goes down to the small stuff. Like a lot of people, for example, will come to my Discord server and be like, it's weird to see the server owner interacting. But I choose to because it's what makes me happy. And I know if I went to, a streamer that I enjoyed and I went to their server and they came in, they say, hey, what's up everybody, how's your morning doing? I bet you Pippi I'm gonna respond. Because I think that's cool as hell. And I want to foster that kind of atmosphere. Because people say, treat the world how you want to be treated. And form it into what you want to see. So that's my end goal is I want to keep making my corner of the internet into a fun, entertaining space for people like me and just keep being ourselves.
Okay. No, I got you. And that's very noble of you, really. Like, just to be able to make what you enjoy and just be able to, like, apply it for what you enjoy the most is pretty much noble in and of itself, because when I say that noble, I mean, like, for you to be able to, like, because I've always believed that being yourself and what you enjoy to do is the most important thing out of anything else on hand. Mostly because growth and everything else, it'll come, it'll go, but for the most part, as long as you and the people you have around you are happy with you, and just be able to, they enjoy what you do and you enjoy what you do, then to me, that's all that matters, really. I mean, that's pretty much the point of happiness right there, just to be able to enjoy and do what you love, so. Just be able to do that on hand.
Completely agree.
So, before we close it and everything, I want to ask chat on hand. Does anybody have any questions for Whisper? If you guys would like to ask them on hand. Any questions at all? While chat comes up with some questions on hand for the most part, I do want to know this. The name Whisper, where did that originate from?
I've told this story a few times, and it's a little bit of an embarrassing story, but I'll tell it again. So I used to go by, my online alias used to be Yuki. It used to be either, Yuki Neko, I think was one of the more popular ones, because I liked the name Yuki. It was one of my favorite characters in the book I was reading. It was a unisex name. I just really enjoyed it. Having a name like that and playing games like CSGO, you're right for people picking on you. And so eventually I was like, you know what? No, I'm done with it. I want a cool name, something that's just like one word that I can spell out with vaporwave letters. I want something short and cool and that really blows, how people say shroud. Or like critical, something just punches the point in. So I was like, Whisper. And then I've just stuck with it ever since, and I was probably like 5 years ago, so here I am today. It's all because of Counter-Strike.
All because of Counter-Strike. I mean, it's also too, like, I know there's been people who have, like, different names on hand that just kind of pop up out of nowhere, or sometimes there may be people who have, like, names that came, like, all the way from, like, I don't know, middle school on hand. Like, my name, for the most part, came from middle school, just because I was interested in astronomy and, like, earth science and everything. So, it was one of those things on hand here. just kind of waiting here for a little bit of questions on hand. But I will say too on hand I will say too while we're waiting. Was there ever somebody you ever wanted to meet in VRC or like streamer wise that you did get a chance to meet for the most part? Or is that still like on your list of people you want to meet?
I always had wanted to meet James because he's the one who got me into VRChat. And it was probably on my second or third day in VR that I got to meet him.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was on a map that used to be a lot more popular. This was when they first changed the hub over from the older that almost looked like a dungeon with the little like beer hall area, and they transitioned to the big, wide, scary, gray place where everyone spawned in. It was during that time, and I remember I saw James Ski, and he was in his menu, and I was probably about 40 feet away, too embarrassed to go close. So I'm over there like a lunatic, just going, hi, just waving, and then he eventually waved back and then left the world. And I actually met him a second time when I was sitting in just a hub, and he rolled in, and there was like 40 people with him riding chickens. It was a wild time, but I got to meet him, and it meant a lot to me.
No, I got you. Because it's weird because sometimes some of the people you ever meet on hand that ever get you in VRC, like what happened to you was like, you know, through videos of YouTube, like James here, so. And it's funny because I got into VRC because I was watching videos of like Team 5 and everything, one of them being Direct Wiz and everything. And it's weird because life's got a weird way of throwing a curveball at you when you least expect it. I was in a public world, guy at night, just doing what I gotta do on hand. And then out of nowhere, across the hill, I see a big sack boy coming all the way down. And immediately, because I used to run around as Iron Man for the most part, he immediately looked at me and said, "Are you Iron Man?" And I said, well, yeah, from the way it looks, yes, I am. And he goes, "Oh, but Batman's better," and basically just takes off. So it's just kind of like one of those things where life will throw a curveball at you when you least expect it, and sometimes some of the people you ever meet in life will probably come to you when you least expect it, or, you know, it may lead you down to where it is or so. Like, I think the only person I had never got a chance to meet on hand, which one day I will, but it only depends on time zones, and that's basically Kimball. So it all depends on him.
Crazy how the world works sometimes.
Yeah, it does. When you least expect it.
I've said it before, but VRChat makes the world a lot smaller of a place. I know the internet in general already does that, but I've met people in VRChat I never thought that I would meet, purely because they were a friend of a friend.
Mm-hmm.
So because we were mutuals with the same person, we ended up meeting, and it's cool. Like I said, I love VRChat as a social platform, so I think it's really interesting when you get to meet people.
Definitely.
Even if it's scary.
And the crazy part about it is, it's still a small community. That's the crazy part of it, too. Is that VR... Yeah,
relatively speaking.
Yeah. Small community, but in a weird way or so, no matter what or so, you're definitely going to meet the person. Even if you didn't get a chance to talk to him, you'll probably end up meeting them later on in life, or kind of like bump into them like a few more times before it'd be like, why have we not talked to each other, you know? Like, it'll happen. Definitely happen on hand. I don't seem to have any questions I can ask you on hand for the most part in chat, so I guess with that in mind or so, that will be episode 56 of Shoot the Breeze. So thank you guys very much.